Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I'm very happy to be here with Paul Fulton, clinical psychologist and mindfulness instructor. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Suzanne and
Nice.
everyone else.
Yes, so nice to have you with us again this morning. And so today what we'll do is Paul will start us off with a little bit of a talk and sharing some thoughts with us and lead us in a guided practice. And after that, we'll have time for some questions and comments. So if you'd like to go to the bottom of your screen and open up the chat, and once you've opened that up, you'll notice you can click a drop-down menu that allows you to see all comments from everyone. So that will give you a chance to see any questions or comments as they come in. So there we go, Paul. I will hand it off to you as we begin.
Good. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you as always for the invitation. Nice to see all of you, except of course I can't see any of you. But I know you're out there, and always appreciative of people's practice. So I'm going to make just a few comments. We'll sit together a bit and we'll see what happens. All right. So if you're here, you've no doubt read a fair amount of literature extolling what mindfulness can do. Right. It claims to reduce stress, to grow in compassion, to improve our attention and our focus, to improve resilience, and of course, all of the many health benefits that are often talked about, either directly or indirectly by reducing stress that contributes to stress-related disorders. And these are all excellent benefits, and they're reason enough, I think, to practice. But I'm going to be speaking about another facet of mindfulness, one that gets a little bit less attention. And that is, for lack of a better way to put it, waking up to this life, or we might say inhabiting this life as it is. It's a kind of a funny way to put it, because very often when we practice and we hear this notion of turning to life as it is, we already have some idea that it's something we need to get to, that life as it is something different from the way I'm living now, right? And that we have to somehow clear away all the dross in order to find life as it is, which is a bit of a misconception. So to expand, those of us who practice at all already know that the mind is like a fugitive. You know, it's always darting around. It's never still for long. And if we can begin to still it even just a little bit, we begin to see in even greater detail how it's always in motion. It's always changing. This isn't a failure of our mindfulness practice. It's a kind of an insight into the changing nature of mind and experience, that it is by nature moving, changing constantly. And our efforts to try to stop that are commensurate with a kind of frustration that we can experience when we practice. And by the way, those of us who do practice are much more likely to see how unmindful we are. Those who don't practice are likely to rate themselves as being more mindful. And it's because they simply haven't looked closely to see what's actually happening under the hood. So when we do look, that is to say, when we practice paying close attention to moment experience, and we try to reside in the present moment, this razor's edge of present moment experience, we begin to see just how extraordinarily difficult it is to rest there for more than a passing moment. Almost immediately, we drift off into any number of things like our impulses, our thoughts, our images, our judgments, our memories, on and on and on. No sooner do we land on something present than something else pulls us away. And one of the common qualities of those forces that pull us away is this desire for things to be a certain way, our wish to feel a certain way. So everyone has had moments of just tremendous delight or joy or complete satisfaction or comfort. And we think, yeah, this is how it is supposed to be. This is, of course, how I want it to be. And by varying degrees, we're always trying to manipulate our experience to resemble that good moment, to try to get back to it. And it becomes consciously or unconsciously the standard of our success. If I'm doing it well, I'm feeling terrific. I'm feeling at ease and satisfied and maybe even joyful. Right. So we're always trying to kind of recalibrate our compass to avoid the stuff that's unpleasant, the unsatisfactoriness, and instead try to direct our efforts to rest in that delight. But in fact, those really wonderful, wonderful moments are pretty elusive, and they're kind of rare as well. And by and large, out of our control, not something that we can force ourselves into. But this habit of always trying to angle ourselves into how we want to feel, this habit, which is subtle or sometimes not so subtle, angling for a better present, is so often can be revealed in our mindfulness practice. So in mindfulness, we may find ourselves resting in the present, only to find that this present moment is not this elevated moment, but it's completely ordinary. It's not the delight we seek. It's ordinary life. Surely if I practice, I'm going to have this superlative, unsurpassable joy that I've read about in some of the literature. But really, when I pay attention, this moment is just as it is. So here's a kind of a paradox, I think. We may be after some elevated experience, but our practice is really not necessarily elevating, but returning us to rest on the ground gently, right? It takes us where we are, maybe with less struggle. And not necessarily because it is full of joy, though perhaps it could be, but in its ordinariness. This is a reason some people will stop practicing, which is they settle into, they want some extraordinary experience. And what it's giving us is, in a sense, the ordinariness of life. But this is really the gift of our practice. Because contrary to all of our wishes and our fantasies, most of our life is like that, right? It is looking for our keys. It's opening the mail. It's taking out the trash. It's folding laundry, right? All of these ordinary moments that don't command our interest and our attention. And so the gift then is that we're not abandoning life as it is in search of something better or more engaging. We're learning to live in the only moment we can ever live, which is right here, right now, like this, full of unsatisfactoriness, full of ordinariness, full of of distraction. Our impatient minds, our loving minds, our hungers. This moment is our life. This is the only thing how can I say this? This is an experience that is only given to the living, right? A moment of suffering is something that the dead cannot know and cannot experience. So even the moments that are ordinary and seem to be beneath our interest, that don't merit our engagement, these are still extraordinary gifts. So we're learning to turn toward this life, toward knowing it. And in this way, we honor and we embrace life. This ordinariness is really the extraordinary gift, known only by the living. So we practice in order to know life as it happens, to participate, to celebrate it, and to be astonished by the fact that we're here at all. So with this in mind, one of the ways that I like to practice, and I offer for your consideration today, is that as we sit with a question that we can hold lightly. And that question is something like, what is it like to be alive? Right? As we sit, knowing that this is the authentic experience of being alive, just as it is. So if you wish, you can hold this question or practice in any way you like, but let's sit together for 10 minutes or so. I won't be giving ongoing instruction, and I'll just notify us when the time has elapsed. So,
Good.
ding. So thank you all for your practice. And by way of coming at this in a slightly different way, I'll tell you a brief story. Centuries ago, when in Japan, there would be competitions among the very best haiku poets. And every year, the poets would gather and they would be given a theme, and it might be the seasons or the road to Edo, the capital of Japan at the time. And one year, the competition was views of Mount Fuji. And to be able to see Mount Fuji is very auspicious because it's often too cloudy to be seen. And all of the greatest poets put forward these beautiful poems extolling the beauty of Mount Fuji. And then Basho, who was always the hands down winner of these contests, put forward a haiku that, and I'm not saying this precisely right, but it amounted to something like this: Mount Fuji obscured in rain and fog. How interesting. And he won the competition hands down. And I love this because he's talking about being interested in things being obscured in a moment of confusion, in a moment of not seeing. This is what he was celebrating, the ordinary condition of views of Mount Fuji when it's not clear. So, any questions, comments, observations anyone would wish to offer to the group?
Yeah, that's a wonderful story to bring us back to the original, what our daily lives. I think many times the fact that we're searching for those times of delight can lead to consistent disappointment. And the fact that we can embrace and enjoy the ordinary can make a really big difference in folks that might not be, might be having a hard time in life, So I love that practice. I think that's very enriching. Someone's mentioned it.
Yes, Carmen, thank you. Wonderful comment. If we expect that the mind is supposed to become still, we'll drive ourselves crazy. If we think we're supposed to empty the mind, it will be flooded. If we think we're supposed to stop ourselves from thinking, we're going to be dominated by thinking. It's not that silence doesn't happen. It can and it does, but it happens by allowing it and not by making it happen. The metaphor is often used of having a jar of muddy water and you're trying to get the mud to settle. So you push your hand into the water and try to get all of the dissolved mud down to the bottom. Sometimes what we're really granted is the opportunity to see the unsatisfactoriness, the restlessness of mind, right? What it feels like to be fatigued, what it feels like to be frustrated, because that is the truth of the moment very often.
I keep a number of quotes on my phone when some things hit me, and one in particular was by Joseph Campbell that said, "We must let go of life, the life we have planned, so to accept the one that is waiting for us." Yeah. And how liberating that can be to just accept whatever is there. Yeah. But it's not easy.
Yeah, and you remind me of another Joseph Campbell quote, which I really like. He wrote, "People say that what we're all seeking is meaning for life. I don't think that's what people are really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances within our own innermost being and reality, that we can actually feel the rapture of being alive.
Hmm.
Knowing we're alive while we're alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you've mentioned is it almost opens up to the experience. The ordinary makes the delight even more extraordinary. So, yeah, very, very interesting and enriching practice. So we're very grateful to have you here, Paul.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I wish I could see all your faces, but I'll have to imagine them.
Yes, yes, that's what we do twice a week, is imagine those folks. And we're very grateful to have them all here. And so thank you again for your words and for your encouragement and for your guidance this morning, Paul. So thanks for joining us.
Good. And thank you all for your practices. Keep going.
Yes. Thanks everyone for joining, and again for your practice. And we will see you again soon. We'll be here on Thursday at 8:30 as well. Okay, thanks again to everyone, and see you soon.